When I was born, they had no hope for me, but I survived to build a legacy. I felt no love as I was raised. I felt broken, disheartened, and betrayed. But here I am, doing my own thing. I'll take a stand, I'll take a stand. I can do anything. You take one look at me and see a man with a disability. You don't know what I can be. You just take me for granted. So here I go. Take one look at me and see a man with a disability. You don't know what I can be. You just take me for granted. So here I go. Zach and I'm just being me. I'm not disabled, I've got a unique ability.
At Unique Prepping, we're all about building stronger communities and preparing for the unexpected. Now, we're taking our mission even further by partnering with Stolen Spirits, a powerful initiative focused on raising awareness for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Together, we're blending preparedness with advocacy, shining a light on the issues that matter most. Join us as we unite for a cause, inspire change, and build a future where every voice is heard and every life is valued. Unique Prepping and Stolen Spirits, stronger together.
Hello, Zach.
Good evening, our prepping community, and welcome to the 39th installment of Unique Prepping's Community. On tonight's episode, we'll be discussing the difference between prepping mind versus fear. I'm your host, producer, and community member Unique Prepping, and with me is one of our newest members to our community, Grump from Grumpelstiltskin. Down in the description, I put his channel link. Please go subscribe and keep this beautiful community growing. How are you tonight?
All living a dream, sir. Happy to be here. Thanks for doing this. A little short notice, but got her done.
It's good, and I'm doing good. Thank you for joining me tonight. We're diving deep into a topic that's at the very heart of what it means to be a prepper in today's unpredictable world, the difference between a prepping mind versus fear. Buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey that's as much about mindset as it is about action, as much about empowerment as it is about preparation, and as much about building resilience as it is about confronting the uncertainties that keep us up at night. Whether you're a seasoned prepper with a bunker full of supplies or someone just dipping their toes into the world of preparedness, this episode is for you. We're here to unpack the psychology, the strategies, and the soul of prepping, separating the calm, calculated steps of a prepared mind from the chaotic, knee-jerk reactions driven by fear. Picture this: the world is buzzing with headlines, natural disasters, economic shifts, supply chain hiccups, or maybe just the neighbor's ominous warning about something big coming. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, isn't it? The line between being ready and being ruled by fear can get blurry fast. That's why we're here, in this vibrant community of like-minded folks, to cut through the noise and get to the core of what makes prepping not just a hobby, but a way of life. In this episode, we'll explore how a prepping mindset is grounded in logic, resourcefulness, and a commitment to self-reliance, while fear can lead us down a rabbit hole of panic buying, irrational decisions, and wasted energy. We'll talk about real-world examples, like how a well-stocked pantry can be a lifeline during a storm, versus hoarding supplies for a doomsday that never comes. We'll share insights on how to stay focused, how to build skills that last, and how to foster a community that lifts each other up when the going gets tough. It isn't just about stockpiling food or learning to start a fire, though we love those skills, don't we? It's about cultivating a mindset that says, I'm ready for whatever comes, and I'm not going to let fear call the shots. It's about knowing the difference between preparing for a power outage and obsessing over an alien invasion. It's about finding peace in preparedness, not anxiety in what-ifs. Here at Unique Prepping, we're all about empowering you to take control of your future with clarity, confidence, and a little bit of grit. So, grab a notebook, maybe a cup of coffee, or your favorite survival brew, and let's get ready to dig into this conversation that's sure to spark some serious reflection and maybe even a few aha moments. Before we jump in, we want to hear from you. This community thrives because of your stories, your questions, and your passion for preparedness. So, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Do you have anything to add before we get started?
Just that. Remember to slap that like button wherever you're at.
Question number 1. What are the key psychological differences between a prepping mindset focused on self-reliance and a fear-driven approach that leads to panic or paranoia?
You want me to kick it off, Zach? Okay. Well, it's these are polar opposite things that are inside in the same kind of, wheelhouse. I don't want to say wheelhouse necessarily. That's the wrong term. But in the same got to get ready mindset. It's the polar opposites. On one side, you've got risk assessment, analysis, planning, and making smart decisions, both with your time and resources. And then the other is the world's ending. Gotta get stuff right now with no plan and no idea. Want me to keep? Okay. So the more self-reliance mindset is you're going to have a plan of attack going into things. I use a lot of spreadsheets. I keep things organized in both physical notebooks, but also the application OneNote. I live in OneNote, Microsoft OneNote. Even running on Linux, I use a separate VM just to run OneNote, and it works pretty good that way. Pretty well, excuse me. You want to do remember to like and subscribe. Figuring out the first things you do don't cost any money. It's figuring out what is it that you need, both as far as to spend your time on and to spend your money on, and then plan out and then take it piece by piece according to your plan. I would guess I'm not unique. See what I did there? Is in that I've made a lot of just knee-jerk reaction purchases just because something was on sale, and then bought a lot of it when that didn't really fit into my plan right now or at the time, or maybe it was the wrong thing. And you want me to read the messages, Zach? From EOD696. I think having a plan probably helps a lot. Going into a situation you've never been in before without sign of preparation without some kind of preparation inevitably leads to panic and disorder. Hard agree. If you're calm and deliberate in what you're doing, for example, buying canned pumpkin filling, like pumpkin pie filling. It's really great nutrition. It's one of the more dense nutritional things you can buy. From Ramesh Subramanam, salute Nag and subscribe Kana to Lil Kuya Zach. I butchered that. I'm sorry. A really good and my link, yes. I've found, as far as purchasing things like food or consumables, like even something as simple as toothpaste, is get a number in your head. Whatever you can afford, whether it's 2 or 3 or 4 or 10, whatever that is. And then whenever you run out of something and you're going to go and purchase it at the grocery store or wherever, then you buy that many extra and then do that every single time. That way you build up, as long as you do everything with the same number, whether it's 2 or 3 or 10, you're going to build up a stockpile at that increment. So if it takes you like 3 months to go through a tube of toothpaste and you buy 3, well, now you have 3 times that interval. And if you do that with everything, then you're going to have roughly that long, that interval across the board. So you're not spending extra money on one thing and then lacking in another area. And it's all about consistency. Kind of like dollar cost averaging, as far as, investing with stocks or precious metals or whatever you're into, is just doing it consistently. It's not like a one-time thing. And figuring out how much what your budget is, that's kind of the first thing. A lot of the skills learning piece too is you're probably not even going to need a whole lot of the really cool gear until you've learned how to use it. I mean, it's sometimes you want to purchase it first, but does it make sense to have the Stomp portable surgery room hospital backpack if you have no idea how to use any of it except the bandage and chlorine? If you're not like taking a class, or if you don't know how to do suture, like if you don't know how to do suturing, I mean, there's a mindset of, hey, even if I can't use it, then maybe somebody else will be able to and help me out or help out somebody else. That is valid, but maybe don't go and buy 1,000 suture kits when you don't know how to do it. That money could probably be better spent elsewhere. Oh, from Only Mr. Bill, how much should I spend on a solar generator if I doubt I'll ever really need it, but don't want to be without basic power for weeks? Well, that's a really great question. It's about balancing how likely. I like to use, I don't know, facetiously, I like to use zombie apocalypse. And I know that we're going to talk about that later, is that's that's an emotional, irrational thing. Well, the thing is that a lot of these disaster type situations, they have a lot of lowest common denominator, like having extra food on hand, having a way to purify water, having electricity when the power's out. That's a Haas portable one. Oh, we frozen? Okay, we're good to go. Maybe the generator, after you've got like food and water and maybe some other things, it's about what your budget is, like how big of a generator, how much, and then are you going to maintain that generator. Solar generators, where it's like solar panels and battery packs, they need very little maintenance. Not like a like a gas or I have gas and diesel generators, and you don't want to leave gasoline. It's just like a power tool. You don't want to leave your gasoline in there, because it was ready to go. You want to have maybe some. I'm all over the place now. We're going to talk about fuel storage too. Mr. Bill's question was about a solar battery unit, which those are great. They used to be really pricey. Some of these Chinesium ones are great. I have one that's not a name brand that I've ever heard, and it was like twice as much. So Balder is like a real name brand. I have one that's Balder, and then another one that I bought right around the same time because I needed two of them in different places. I bought another one that was like Chinesium from I don't know if it was from Amazon or AliExpress. It was something, but it's been just as reliable, twice as many watt hours, and it was right around the same price. Only Mr. Bill thinking about an Anker one on sale on Slamazon. Anker is a good name brand too. If you're going for multiple redundancies, I'd say maybe investigate some of the less expensive not name brand ones. If you're only going to have one of something, I'd probably get the one with the warranty. So Anker's gonna probably have a decent warranty. Even a well generator, like to pull up water. Yeah. And then there's old technology too, where from Tracy's Fractured House. Hello everybody. There's old technology too, which is I call myself a simple monkey. Maybe I'm a little bit of a Luddite with what I do for a living. It sounds kind of silly, but I'm 100% that, hey, maybe the old ways to do things, analog or traditional ways, are not as much risk involved. Like having a wind-driven pump, you don't need any electricity, and it's probably going to require some different kind of maintenance, and just a little bit of a different skill set to learn how it works and how to repair it, how to build it, whatever it is. But that's going to keep going unless there's no wind. Then no oopsies. But then you still got a manual pump, or you should probably. Having an electric one, yeah, that'll. I mean, what's the situation? Is this for an emergency situation where if the power's out, then your electric pump is still going to need electricity, so you probably want to have a generator for it. But 100% having a redundant way to utilize it that doesn't require electricity is probably, depending on cost, I might say, hey, that's probably the path I would choose first, is to get like some kind of wind or manual pump before getting a generator, just for that, because a generator is going to have multiple things that you're using it for, of course. It's all about the pros and cons, like what's your cost benefit. It's a lot of doing just math and paperwork, I think. Again, like comparing on a spreadsheet, or an easel or a whiteboard or something like that.
Psychological differences between a prepping mindset focused on self-reliance and a fear-driven approach that leads to panic or paranoia are profound, shaping not only how individuals prepare for uncertainties but also how they navigate life's challenges. A prepping mindset rooted in self-reliance is characterized by rational thinking, proactive planning, and a sense of empowerment, while a fear-driven approach is marked by emotional reactivity, irrational decision-making, and a loss of control. These differences manifest in how individuals perceive threats, process information, and take action, ultimately determining whether their preparedness efforts lead to resilience or spiraling anxiety. By examining the cognitive, emotional, and behavioral aspects of these mindsets, along with real-world examples, we can better understand how to cultivate a healthy prepping mentality that fosters confidence rather than chaos. Self-reliant prepping mindset is grounded in logical assessment and strategic thinking. Individuals with this mindset evaluate risks based on data and probability, focusing on plausible scenarios like natural disasters, power outages, or economic disruptions. They ask questions like, what are the most likely challenges I could face in my region, or what skills and resources will help me thrive in an emergency? This approach relies on critical thinking to prioritize needs, food, water, shelter, medical supplies, while avoiding fixation on low-probability, high-drama events. For example, a self-reliant prepper in a hurricane-prone area might stockpile 3 days' worth of water, non-perishable food, and batteries, based on historical storm patterns. They might also learn skills like first aid or how to use a generator safely, viewing preparation as a practical extension of responsibility. Contrast, a fear-driven approach often stems from catastrophizing, where individuals overestimate the likelihood or impact of worst-case scenarios. This mindset is fueled by cognitive biases like the availability heuristic, where vivid media images of apocalyptic events, think zombie movies or sensationalized news, distort perceptions of risk. A fear-driven prepper might fixate on extreme scenarios, like a global EMP attack or societal collapse, even if these are statistically unlikely. For instance, someone might spend thousands of dollars on a bunker stocked with years' worth of freeze-dried food, neglecting more immediate needs like car repairs or health insurance. This tunnel vision often leads to irrational choices, such as hoarding items they don't know how to use or preparing for scenarios that are more fantasy than reality, draining mental and financial resources. Emotionally, a self-reliant prepping mindset fosters a sense of control, confidence, and peace. Preppers with this outlook view preparation as a form of empowerment, akin to learning a trade or saving for retirement. They derive satisfaction from building skills, like gardening or water purification, knowing these abilities enhance their autonomy. This mindset reduces anxiety by focusing on actionable steps and measurable progress. For example, a family in a rural area might feel empowered after creating a community garden and learning to can vegetables, knowing they can feed themselves during a supply chain disruption. This emotional stability allows them to face uncertainties with calm determination, seeing preparation as a lifestyle rather than a reaction to crisis. Conversely, a fear-driven approach is dominated by anxiety, paranoia, and a sense of impending doom. Fearful preppers often feel overwhelmed by the scale of potential threats, leading to a cycle of worry and compulsive behavior. Their emotional state is reactive, triggered by external stimuli like news alerts or social media posts about the end is near. For instance, during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, fear-driven individuals might have panic-bought toilet paper or masks in excessive quantities, driven by viral videos of empty shelves rather than a calculated assessment of their needs. This emotional volatility can lead to burnout, as the constant anticipation of disaster keeps them in a state of hypervigilance, eroding mental health and straining relationships. Behaviorally, a self-reliant prepper takes proactive, sustainable steps that align with their goals and resources. Their actions are deliberate and adaptable, focusing on versatility and long-term resilience. For example, a self-reliant prepper might invest in solar panels to ensure power during outages, practice crop rotation in their backyard garden, or join a local mutual aid group to share resources. These actions are incremental and integrated into daily life, reflecting a belief that preparedness enhances self-sufficiency without dominating their identity. They might allocate a budget for supplies, balancing prepping with other priorities like education or family time, ensuring their efforts are sustainable and practical. Fear-driven preppers, however, often engage in reactive, impulsive behaviors that prioritize quantity over quality or immediacy over strategy. Their actions may lack coherence, driven by a need to do something in response to fear. A classic example is the prepper who, after watching a documentary about nuclear fallout, impulsively buys a gas mask and radiation suits without learning how to use them or considering their relevance to their location. Such behaviors can lead to wasted resources, cluttered storage, and a false sense of security. During the Y2K scare, for instance, some fear-driven individuals stockpiled years' worth of food, only to discard it when the predicted collapse didn't materialize, illustrating how panic can lead to inefficiency and regret. Consider two neighbors in a coastal town preparing for hurricane season. The self-reliant prepper researches historical weather data, noting that their area typically faces one major storm every few years. They create a plan, a go bag with essentials, a communication strategy with family, and a stockpile of water and food for a week, based on realistic outage durations. They also learn to board windows and use a ham radio, feeling confident in their ability to weather the storm. Their mindset is calm, focused on what they can control, and their preparations integrate seamlessly into their life. Neighbor, driven by fear, sees the same hurricane season approaching but is influenced by sensationalized news about superstorms and social media posts warning of societal breakdown. They panic buy generators they don't know how to maintain, hoard canned goods beyond their storage capacity, and obsess over unlikely scenarios like permanent grid failure. Their preparations are disorganized, driven by anxiety rather than strategy, and they neglect practical steps like securing their home or connecting with neighbors. When the hurricane passes with minimal disruption, they're left with unused supplies and a sense of exhaustion, while the self-reliant prepper feels validated in their measured approach. Key psychological differences between a self-reliant prepping mindset and a fear-driven approach lie in their cognitive clarity, emotional stability, and behavioral coherence. Self-reliance is rooted in rational risk assessment, emotional empowerment, and proactive planning, leading to sustainable preparedness that enhances life. Fear-driven prepping, however, is marked by catastrophizing, anxiety, and impulsive actions, often resulting in wasted resources and mental strain. By focusing on skills, community, and realistic scenarios, preppers can cultivate a mindset that transforms uncertainty into opportunity, ensuring they're prepared without being paralyzed. If you're reflecting on your own prepping journey, consider, are your actions driven by a desire to build resilience, or are they a reaction to fear? That question can guide you toward a healthier, more empowered approach. UP out.
On that, Zach, I have some to share here. If you could bring that up on your time, sir. This is what, so just a risk assessment, and this is a risk assessment matrix, as it says right there. This is kind of, if you're going to take a sane approach to what you're going to spend your time and resources on, I don't think there's a way to avoid at least casually thinking about it, unless, or actually going through the exercise of, hey, here's a X thing that I'm thinking I want to do. Where does it live on this matrix? The importance of it and how it should integrate into your plan should reflect where it is on the matrix. If something is low consequence but very likely, well, how much do you really need to spend on it, versus very likely or very unlikely but catastrophic? That's somewhat similar, but it's not like a very likely and catastrophic. That's something that you should definitely put your time and money into, and you need to balance this. If you're in a hurricane area and it's coming up on hurricane season, well, I mean, it's time to, make sure that you've got your stuff squared away and shore up any shortcomings that you have, because you should have already been working on it. Having your, and then a bigger piece is the stuff that's common. I think I touched on this a little bit earlier. The things that are common across multiple different scenarios, those things are probably going to be the lowest common denominator, like having food, having water, shelter. You know, your rule of threes: 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. That's not exactly right. After a day with no water, you're going to be in a world of hurt. And you know, no shelter, that depends on, you know, the kind of the environment. Yeah, you probably could go longer, maybe not as long. It's just those are kind of the increments. You should, man. So it's each kind of scenario, taking whatever that you think you want to do, putting it in here, and then comparing that to your other scenarios. Again, food, water, shelter, those are all across the board. If you need to leave your house, I mean, that's probably the last thing you want to do. And, you know, everybody, all the prepper community is like, oh, bug out. But that's, if you can avoid that and stay home, that's where most of your stuff is. And you got your shelter, you've got maybe your garden, you've got all your whole setup there, unless you have a whole nother residence or place that you have set up. But then also now you've got to get there. So you're going to want to have a plan for how to do that. Maybe you put that in a binder with, you know, sheet protectors. So you can hand that to somebody and say, hey, here's the plan. And here's what we're going to do. Because in the moment, you want to have the plan written out for whatever it is that you're doing, so that when it's go time, when the world is coming to an end, say, for whatever it is, whether it's a small disaster or a big disaster or something, that you have a written plan so you don't miss anything. Checklists are great. Check where you just like, hey, what am I doing? Okay, check it. Okay, move on to the next thing. That takes having to think critically in the moment when you're in a stress situation out of the equation. Not all the way, but for a good chunk. See, we're still on the first question. I think we've covered that pretty well. Yeah. Hey, Caldy.
Question number 2. How can someone identify if their prepping habits are motivated by practical preparedness versus irrational fear of unlikely scenarios?
So we've touched on it a little bit there. The risk matrix, that's a big thing. Writing down a plan before you take action, whether it's spending money or classes. Say, an item that Zach mentioned earlier, getting ready for a nuclear scenario. If you don't have, you know, kind of your food situation to where you want it yet, maybe don't buy that gas mask, or because I mean, a good one, it's a couple $100. You can buy a lot of food with like a lot of dried food for a couple $100. Maybe it is a high risk thing, and then it would be high impact. For example, if you were to say, look at a map that has at least publicly available information about nuclear power plants and nuclear weapon silos in your area, and then you were to like overlay prevailing wind charts, then if you're in an area where you're usually downwind from a nuclear facility, if something happened to that nuclear facility or some conflict, it got hit and now there's fallout in the air, if you're downwind of it, maybe that's a higher risk for you, and maybe that's something that you want to look at. But if you're not, then it's not quite as high a risk. So maybe focus on, you know, getting your baseline things that are applicable across multiple categories first. Then once you have your baselines taken care of that are just across the board. I'm calling them your lowest common denominator, like your food, your shelter, but then what kind of shelter? Once you've got 6 months worth of food, maybe for you and your family situated, maybe then you start looking at, hey, some of the more expensive or less likely things that would still have a high impact. So an EMP, whether it's a Carrington event like in 1893, 5, somewhere in there, that fried telegraph lines. That was the biggest impact. That was the impact. Like the telegraphs went down at the time because that's as advanced the technology was. We don't know what would happen in a Carrington event type situation now. Is it likely? I mean, it's something that can happen. It's a greater than 0% chance that it's going to happen at some point again. Not just as likely, but there are two other scenarios where electricity might be down for quite a while. One involves a foreign bad actor, launching a nuclear device up high altitude EMP. It would take 3 of them to basically black out all or most of the United States, because we got mountain ranges, and the mountain ranges block it. But then the most likely, which is a much more realistic situation, is a cyber attack to the electric grid. It's not very well hardened at all. And the last time I checked a few years back, a substation transformer was about 6-month lead time, and they're not made in the United States. I had just recently checked again, and it looks like closer to 3 years lead time now. So if a substation goes out, or many in a region, you could be looking at no mains power for quite a while. There are emergency type. I think I've seen a substation in a truck, essentially, where they can pull up a trailer to where the substation is and essentially run it off that at reduced capacity. But how many of those are there? Is it worth generators, and maybe not just buying generators, but maybe thinking about how can I plan for my future, just involving that in your planning process for, say, hey, I'm going to buy some land. I'm going to build a house, or I'm going to just build a house. What can I do so that it's less reliant on electricity? There are a lot of things like there are things you can do, like mounting on your roof water pipes, and then that's sending water through the roof. The sun heats the water, and you can get really hot water that way. Jean Pain, a French guy, quite a while ago, had a technique where he would do giant compost. Like he would, it was in a forest in Paris. He would gather up all the brush from the forest and create these giant compost heaps and run the water through them. So it would create very hot water. And then at the same time, he would capture the methane gas and use that to run his truck. It's a really cool situation. But he didn't have to worry about a water heater. I'm not sure how he was pumping water, but something like that, where you think about, is there something that I can do using gravity feed or some old technology, some old way to do things that didn't need electricity, and maybe it's just slightly less convenient, or maybe it's something where having that as your baseline, and then you have some kind of automation on top of it, so that when, hey, if the power goes out, okay, well, the automatic piece that's done. We just take that off, and now we have the baseline old school technology method of doing it, and then we just keep on trucking. You think that makes sense? I think that makes sense. If you
Identifying whether prepping habits stem from practical preparedness or irrational fear requires self-awareness, critical reflection, and an honest assessment of one's motivations, thought processes, and actions. A practical prepping mindset is characterized by logic, adaptability, and alignment with realistic risks, while irrational fear manifests as emotional reactivity, fixation on low-probability events, and unsustainable behaviors. By examining key indicators, such as the sources of information driving decisions, the proportionality of preparations, and the emotional impact of prepping, individuals can discern whether their efforts empower them or spiral into paranoia. This distinction is crucial for ensuring that prepping remains a constructive, life-enhancing practice rather than a source of stress or obsession. One of the first indicators is the type of information guiding prepping habits. Practical preparedness relies on credible, data-driven sources like government guidelines, historical records, or expert advice. For example, a prepper might consult FEMA's recommendations for a 72-hour emergency kit or study local weather patterns to prepare for floods. Their decisions are informed by statistics, such as the likelihood of a power outage in their region, and they prioritize versatile supplies like water filters or multi-tools. This approach feels grounded, as it connects preparations to tangible risks. Conversely, fear-driven prepping often stems from sensationalized sources, doomsday blogs, viral X posts, or apocalyptic media. A prepper influenced by a YouTube video predicting an imminent societal collapse might stockpile years' worth of food or buy specialized gear for scenarios like alien invasions, without evidence to justify the expense. To identify their mindset, preppers should ask, am I basing my plans on reliable data, or am I reacting to hype? Another key marker is the proportionality of preparations. Practical preppers tailor their efforts to their circumstances, balancing time, money, and space with other life priorities. For instance, a family in an earthquake-prone area might maintain a 2-week supply of food and water, reinforce their home's foundation, and practice evacuation drills, all while keeping up with work and school. Their prepping is sustainable, integrated into daily life, and doesn't overshadow other responsibilities. In contrast, fear-driven preppers often overcommit resources to unlikely scenarios, neglecting practical needs. During the Y2K panic, some individuals spent thousands on generators and bulk supplies, only to find themselves financially strained when the crisis didn't occur. Fear-driven prepper might fill their garage with gas masks for a hypothetical chemical attack, leaving no room for everyday storage or funds for healthcare. To check proportionality, preppers can reflect, do my preparations match the likelihood and impact of the risks I'm addressing, or am I over-preparing for the improbable? The emotional effect of prepping is a critical differentiator. Practical preparedness fosters a sense of control and confidence, as each step, learning to preserve food, building a first aid kit, or joining a community network, enhances self-reliance. For example, a prepper who learns to grow vegetables might feel pride and security knowing they can feed their family during a supply chain disruption. This positive feedback loop reinforces their motivation without consuming their life. Fear-driven prepping, however, generates anxiety, obsession, or paranoia. Prepper fixated on a global EMP might constantly monitor news for signs of the end, losing sleep and straining relationships. Their preparations feel like a race against an amorphous threat, never complete. To assess this, preppers should ask, does prepping make me feel empowered and calm, or am I constantly worried and checking for new threats? Finally, the nature of one's actions reveals their mindset. Practical preppers act strategically, building skills and resources incrementally. For instance, a prepper might dedicate 1 weekend a month to learning survival skills, like fire starting, while budgeting for a solar charger. Their habits are deliberate, adaptable, and focused on versatility. Fear-driven preppers, however, act impulsively, often triggered by external events. During the COVID-19 panic buying wave, some stockpiled toilet paper or ammunition without a clear plan, driven by viral images of empty shelves. These knee-jerk purchases often lead to clutter, waste, or regret when the crisis passes. To evaluate their behavior, preppers can ask, are my actions planned and purposeful, or am I reacting to sudden fears without a clear strategy? Consider an urban prepper preparing for power outages versus a fear-driven hoarder. The practical prepper researches their city's history of blackouts, noting that winter storms cause outages lasting a few days. They buy a portable power bank, stock a week's worth of food, and learn to use a camp stove, feeling prepared without disrupting their budget. Their actions are measured and reassuring. The fear-driven hoarder, however, sees a news report about a potential grid attack and buys multiple generators, cases of MREs, and anti-radiation pills, spending beyond their means and filling their apartment with unused gear. Their anxiety persists despite their efforts. Reflecting on their sources, proportionality, emotions, and behaviors, the practical prepper confirms their rational approach, while the hoarder might recognize their fear-driven habits and adjust. UP out.
Some of us had already had cases of Costco toilet paper and paper towels already stocked up before the plague. So it was like, no biggie. It's just because of that same already doing the, hey, when it runs out, buy a few extras every single time, and then when one of those runs out, buy a few more. So it was no big deal, and it's not a giant hit. Toilet paper, when during normal times, a giant case of whatever the biggest the Costco one is, it's not like expensive, so just buying an extra one isn't that big a deal if you do it over time. Then after a while you've got a pretty sizable buffer that you can handle reduced supply chain availability of things. Then you're not trying to fight the golden horde to go get the last pack of sandpaper, toilet paper at the local shop, whatever, from the dollar store. So what are we on? Still number 2? Okay.
Question number 3. What practical steps can preppers take to maintain a balanced, data-driven approach to preparedness without succumbing to fear-based decision-making?
As you mentioned before, using credible sources to gather data, but the thing is actually doing it. The sources don't matter if you don't actually do it. So doing a little bit of the homework, it doesn't take all that much time, but you have to kind of, asking somebody else who's maybe been doing it for a while, hey, what should I look for? Things about your area, your locality. Are you in a floodplain? If something happens, if there's a massive storm, is it possible that your residence becomes flooded? Are you, as I mentioned already, are you downwind? And this is taking 2 separate data sources, finding nuclear facilities and finding out, are you downwind? That might make in either of these cases, it's, hey, maybe not super likely, but the impact would be profound if something like that happened. So after it makes sense, after you have enough food and whatever your baseline is that covers very multiple of scenarios, then looking at how do we deal with this other stuff. Maybe once you're aware of not being in a floodplain, say, or the other geographical concerns, maybe you start looking at the next time you're looking to move, maybe you factor that in when you're doing the decision process for where you want to live, so that it's not an issue and you don't have to deal with it. And figuring out, what was it during some recent event? I say recent, in the last 3, 4, 5 years, giant storm. There was one household, one family that bought I think it was $10,000 or $20,000, this barrier to go all the way around the house, and I think he filled it with water. It either absorbed water or he filled it with water first, and then it made a wall and it saved the house. If you're in a floodplain, that's going to impact, can you even get flood insurance for your homeowner's insurance? It's a kind of a big deal. And if you're not looking at it, then I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So learning these type of things is the most important piece. Learning the skills is that's free. I mean, it's not necessarily that you might have a cost associated with attending a class or something, but now that's something that doesn't take up any space. You don't have to use garage space to store it, and it's something that it weighs zero, and you can take it with you. It's the biggest thing in your bug out bag situation is just what you remember in your head for your skills. Using good sources. A big thing too is before you start buying a whole bunch of stuff, thinking about I'm big on everything needs a home. So before you buy, XYZ thing or cases and cases of food, you have to think, what am I going to do with this? Where am I going to put it? Does it have temperature and humidity concerns or light versus darkness concerns that you for whatever the thing is that you're trying to store? Do you have a spot for that? Wherever you live, there's a dollar cost associated with every square foot. I use this to help decide, hey, is this something that I should get rid of, whether it's sell it or just trash it or donate it or whatever. It's the does it pay the rent test. And yeah, some things can go vertical, but hey, you've got a thing that takes up 1 square foot of space. Are you getting that much of the cost of that square foot of value from it? Because even if it's something cool, if you're not getting that value back from it, or hey, Marie Kondo, does it spark joy? Does it spark that many dollars worth of joy? Then if it doesn't, maybe consider not having that thing anymore with whatever you're going to do with it. Budgeting too. This is a very big piece of the the practical, rational prepping versus insanity, end of the world tomorrow, knee jerk, is having a budget and sticking to it, just like you should be doing with all of your expenses for your cash flow situation. I know a lot of people don't do this. I wish they would. I wish it was a public school, just a basic home budgeting, how to pay your taxes, how to use a credit card, but just basic budgeting, so you know how much cash you have coming in, and then a real picture of what your expenses are on a monthly or whatever timeline type of basis. Bonus points if you factor in your extra, that it's not extra. You need to pay yourself first, investing for your future, whether it's retirement or your after-tax portfolio, whatever it is, so that you're not 70 and still, and you either still working or you got to go back to work because you didn't quite plan. If you can get to be financially independent, then it doesn't matter anyway, and then you can retire early, so you can just focus on what you want to do. From Rome 13, sup Rockstar, Horns, and Zach. I think
Maintaining a balanced, data-driven approach to preparedness requires deliberate strategies that anchor prepping in rationality, practicality, and emotional stability. Unlike fear-based decision-making, which is reactive and often fueled by exaggerated threats, a balanced approach prioritizes realistic risks, sustainable practices, and a mindset that integrates preparedness into everyday life without letting it dominate. By focusing on evidence-based planning, skill building, community engagement, and periodic self-assessment, preppers can cultivate resilience while avoiding the pitfalls of paranoia or impulsivity. These steps, supported by real-world examples, ensure that prepping enhances life rather than becoming a source of stress. Cornerstone of a balanced approach is grounding preparations in data-driven risk assessments tailored to one's environment. Preppers should research the most likely threats in their region, such as hurricanes, wildfires, or economic disruptions, using credible sources like NOAA, FEMA, or local government reports. For example, a prepper in California might prioritize earthquake readiness, stocking a go bag with water, food, and a flashlight, based on USGS data showing a high probability of seismic activity. They avoid preparing for irrelevant risks, like tsunamis in a landlocked area. By creating a risk profile based on historical patterns and expert guidance, preppers can focus on what's probable, not sensationalized hypotheticals. Regularly updating this assessment, say, annually, keeps plans relevant and prevents fixation on outdated or unlikely fears, like a Y2K-style tech collapse. Practical prepping emphasizes skills over stockpiles, as skills are versatile, cost-effective, and empowering. Preppers should invest time in learning abilities like first aid, food preservation, or basic repairs, which apply to multiple scenarios and reduce reliance on gear. For instance, a prepper who learns to filter water with a portable purifier is ready for various emergencies, from camping mishaps to boil water advisories, without needing to hoard bottled water. Online courses, community workshops, or even YouTube tutorials from reputable sources can teach these skills. This approach fosters confidence, as preppers feel capable rather than dependent on supplies that might run out. Like fear-driven preppers who buy expensive gadgets impulsively, skill-focused preppers build a toolkit of knowledge that's sustainable and adaptable. Balanced approach requires aligning prepping with financial and spatial constraints to avoid the overstocking common in fear-driven mindsets. Preppers should set a budget, allocating funds gradually for essentials like food, medical supplies, or tools, while maintaining other life priorities like savings or education. For example, a prepper might spend $50 a month to build a 6-month food supply over time, choosing versatile items like rice and beans rather than expensive freeze-dried meals. They store only what fits their space, avoiding the clutter of fear-driven hoarding, like the cases of unused supplies seen after the 2020 pandemic panic. Prioritizing multi-use items, like a multi-tool or a battery-powered radio, ensures efficiency. Regularly rotating supplies, such as eating and restocking canned goods, keeps preparations practical and waste-free. Community involvement anchors preppers in reality, providing emotional support and practical collaboration that counteracts fear's isolating tendencies. Joining local preparedness groups, attending workshops, or participating in online forums like those on X can offer shared knowledge and feedback. For example, a prepper in a flood-prone area might join a neighborhood watch that shares sandbags and evacuation plans, fostering a sense of collective resilience. Community input helps preppers reality check their plans, ensuring they're not spiraling into paranoia over unlikely threats like global conspiracies. Unlike fear-driven preppers who isolate themselves with bunkers, community-focused preppers build networks that enhance survival odds, as seen in communities that thrived post-Hurricane Katrina by pooling resources. To avoid fear-driven drift, preppers should regularly assess their habits, emotions, and motivations. A simple quarterly review, asking, "Are my preparations still aligned with likely risks, or am I feeling empowered or anxious?" can reveal whether fear is creeping in. Journaling prepping goals and progress helps track whether actions are strategic or reactive. For instance, a prepper might notice they've bought excessive ammunition after reading apocalyptic forums, prompting them to redirect funds to practical needs like a fire extinguisher. This reflection prevents the escalation seen in fear-driven cases, like the Y2K preppers who sold assets to build shelters, only to face financial ruin when the crisis didn't materialize. Seeking feedback from trusted peers or mentors can further ensure balance. Practical prepper in Oklahoma, aware of frequent tornadoes, uses NOAA data to build a storm shelter, stocks a week's worth of supplies, and learns first aid, budgeting $100 monthly to avoid strain. They join a local preparedness group, gaining tips on reinforcing windows. Their approach feels manageable and empowering. A fear-driven prepper in the same area, however, fixates on a global collapse after watching doomsday videos, spending thousands on a bunker and years' worth of MREs. Their anxiety grows, and they neglect practical steps like shelter maintenance. The practical prepper's data-driven, community-supported approach proves effective during a tornado, while the fear-driven prepper's efforts are impractical and isolating. UP out.
Reviewing your plan, having the plan is step A. And then reviewing your plan periodically. Yeah, once a quarter, so that might be a little much, but I mean, that's, best case, aim for it. And then if you miss, then you catch up the next one. Annually, probably at a minimum. Doing inventory once in a while, figuring out, hey, how many calories do I have? And just as a side note on food specifically, the knee jerk buying a year's worth of MREs, I'd say that's a bad idea. The same as buying just the kit of whatever that one thing is. Especially also if you haven't tried them. Before you start stockpiling any kind of food item, like preserved food, like long-term storage food items that are already packaged and everything, you want to sample them to find out, is this something that I can even eat? There's a lot of those products out there that, hey, it comes in a bucket and it's got the Mylar bags, and they're just gross. And a lot of them are, or at least used to be, it might be better now. Some of the ones that I've bought were like, this is not 2,000. It says 2,000 calories a day. There's no friggin' way. The math's not mathing on this. Maybe you take your budget, and this is a real thing here. You take your budget and start diversifying that way. Like, say 1 month you buy a couple of cases of MREs. A case of MREs has what, a dozen? That is a solid week of food for a person. Easy. You get 2. If you buy 2 at once, then you're probably going to get the 2 different menu options, because they have different menus of the MREs that are in them. So now you've got 24 different menus for a single person, two good weeks solid. But then that's your first month, right? Then say your next month or next quarter, when it's time to hey, let's put some money into long-term storage food. The next time you do it, maybe you go and buy Mountain House buckets, the freeze-dried stuff that you just add a little water to it and then it reconstitutes. Then after that, the third time around, maybe you put a bunch more into your rice and beans in Mylar bags. And then now that you've got that, maybe the next time you go and start packing flour and food components, like flour and I'm pretty sure ghee, which is clarified butter, can be long-term stored. I haven't had good luck with it, but I don't think it ever went rancid if it was sealed. But I'm just not sure about ghee. Getting your fats and carbs that aren't junk food, I guess, like just solid carbs and fats, is going to be a challenge in a reduced availability scenario. You can hunt for protein, you can grow vegetables. The other stuff's a little bit more challenging. Oh, Wretched Misfit, what are we talking about? Like nukes or just grid down? Well, not anything specifically right now. It's talking about having a holistic mindset and creating a plan and using data to drive your decisions about what you're going to do, rather than, hey, whatever the thing that's going to happen next, I'm going to go and buy, a year worth of food, but then not have any way to purify water or any water storage, which that's important too. Having some water storage. If you have a water heater tank, if you're tankless, sorry, but if you're out of luck. But if you have a water heater tank, that's usually around 50 gallons that you have as water that you can pull out. You got to make sure, this is a thing too for water. If something bad happens, you got to know where your cutoff is for city water. And if you can, your sewage cutoff, because reversion is a thing. You don't want some disaster happening and suddenly you got sewage coming up into your house. From Jixer Therapy, ghee is shelf stable and anything below the surface of the top is fine. Yeah, I think so. But I'm just not as big on the ghee. It always ends up using it, like we're still rotating it, but it ends up getting used like faster than that's the and because it's like kind of experimenting with it. It's not a bulk purchase item for me yet. It's not one of those things that I rotate, like buy in the increments that I was talking about. Doing something like once a month, like Zach said, from Mooseman 684, just realized that if we get nuked in nuclear winter, your solar generators and panels may not work for a long time. That's true. Anything electronic that's not in a theoretically that's not in a Faraday cage could be susceptible to an EMP. Now, if it's either a dirty, I'm not going to use words like algorithm words here. So if it's a dirty explosion or a modern nuclear type weapon explosion, that they don't have as big of an EMP disturbance as kind of it used to be. If it's done intentionally by a bad actor for the most possible impact, which would be high altitude EMP, then yeah, we could be without it for a long time. And we don't have any, as far as I know, and I've studied this for quite a while. We don't actually know in a modern scenario how like integrated circuits are going to react, unshielded integrated circuits. And hey, maybe they're fine if there's no electricity currently going in them. Maybe they're not. We just don't know. Wasn't talking EMP from Mooseman. Wasn't talking EMP. Talking about the sun being blocked. Well, is that in what kind of context? Like in a nuclear scenario, fallout, just blocking the sky, or just significant cloud coverage, and you're dependent on the weather for the power at that point? Yeah, I love diesel. So a thought process that I had to go through for nuke winter is what he was talking about. Yeah, sun will be blocked out by dust. No, if that happens, life is gonna kind of stop. If plants can't get sunlight, then we're kind of toasted. We're quite literally, we're cooked, boys. Is the what happens at that point? Oh, doing drills, also practicing your skills, using your stuff. Like if you're not so good on the cardio, and you have, say, your bug out bag, or which I like better, your get home bag that if you keep in your vehicle that is full of stuff that will help you get home in case you get stuck somewhere out and something happens and you get home. I think it's way more important to have a get home bag than a bug out bag. From Jixer Therapy, we have way bigger concern if there's nuke winter than power. Yeah, we're literally cooked. Take your actual bag. Go to a state forest. Go somewhere. Go even in your backyard and just try and live out of it for however long, few days. Do that on a weekend. You can make it fun. From Roddy Parade. Like the old days, farmers had wind turbines and water wheels. Yes, I mentioned that earlier. That's something that it's old technology. I've got a great book on like traditional farm implements, and it's all kinds of stuff like gates, things that you can do with basic construction, just farm implements, just stuff that is traditionally that would have been used on a farm. Things like wind powered water pumps. Yes, 100%. Doesn't require electricity. They've been doing it for forever, and it still works. It's simple. Supposedly simple. Still works. Prepper 101 at Unique Prepping. Zach, my man, what's good? Says Prepper 101. Good evening, Prepper 101. I'm Grumple. Wind powered mills.
Question number 4. How does building a supportive community help reinforce a healthy prepping mindset and counteract fear-driven tendencies?
I think getting into more of a in meat space in the real world, I don't even talk about being a prepper or anything. I talk about, hey, homesteading. From Kathy S. Hey, Zach and chat. Talking about homesteading, talking about like, hey, backyard chickens. That's stuff that your neighbors can get into and you can talk about. If you start talking about being a prepper, then your neighbors maybe, I think the majority would say, oh, you were on that show about people with bunkers and things, right? The Doomsday Preppers show. Yeah, it's just a different stigma attached to homesteading, which is great. It's a very positive thing versus if you say, hey, prepper, then it's not so much. And that can help you foster a community. Getting into like neighborhood watch and communication plans with those neighbors. Maybe getting, hey, anybody wants to get into amateur radio. Hey, I'm into amateur radio. Let me teach y'all. Let me be your Elmer. That's what a ham radio teacher is historically called. You find yourself an Elmer, just somebody who's been doing it, and then teach you. There's a lot to learn. Radio wave propagation. From K2, keep on trucking. Attending neighborhood meetings is just interacting. The big thing is just interacting with the community, get conversations going that maybe aren't even related. And then when you want to have the conversation about something that is kind of prepper or, preparedness or homesteading related, then you're already going to have that rapport that because you talked about the football game the other day with, this person at a neighborhood meeting or at a block party or whatever. And it's going to be different based on if you're in an urban or suburban or rural type environment too. It's going to be a big difference. If there's a community garden, even if you have your own garden at home, go hang out at the community garden, maybe make a plot there and grow something just for the networking aspect. That's and then along with that, you can teach others, and then maybe you can learn something too. And then you can share your what you're growing in the community garden with other people. Maybe they'll share their stuff with you, and it's just making friends that then have similar mindset and values, even if it's not 100% across the board. Maybe you go to the local range and you I hate public ranges, but maybe you find some people that that shoot there that you can either learn from or teach, or they're probably going to have, depending on who it is, you got what they call FUDs that are maybe not going to be as interested. They go and zero the 270 rifle and then go get the deer, once a year, and then that's it. From Jixer Therapy, speaking of gardens, I will ship Reaper peppers to anyone who wants them, depending on my harvest this fall. Oh, Jixer, I think somebody's gonna take you up on that. What's my CB handle? I'll let you know. Accountability too. When you have a community, if somebody expresses interest, or you say you're going to do something for somebody else having to do with it, or even in general, make sure you follow through, and don't if somebody else says, hey, yeah, let's talk about this, follow up before, hey, want to come over and like let's look at your chickens, let me learn how you did your chicken coop, because your backyard chickens are really awesome and I want to have backyard chickens too, because I love some eggs. If that person says, hey, let me come over and check out your coop, never shows up, maybe don't just let it slide, like, hey, hey, what's going on, I got I got the chickens all set up ready for you, we got the whatever, got things, hey, come on over, don't be mean about it, but definitely follow up and try and keep that accountability. And also, as far as accountability, spreading the concept of, hey, let's use data to make decisions that make sense with other community members, rather than hey, talking about how many neon green zombie knives do we have, because that's a prepper too, somebody who collects neon green zombie knives and axes, I guess. Yeah, more relationships. Do you know your neighbors? How many people don't know their neighbors these days? It's wild. Even in like suburban settings, like, hey, can I borrow a cup of sugar? That used to be a thing. Now it's not as much like that. And I think it's the younger that or the younger generations get. I think it's getting even worse. You could even start
Building a supportive community is a powerful antidote to fear-driven tendencies, as it fosters collaboration, shared knowledge, and emotional stability, reinforcing a healthy, rational prepping mindset. Unlike fear-driven prepping, which often isolates individuals in a cycle of paranoia and mistrust, community engagement grounds preppers in reality, providing practical resources, diverse perspectives, and a sense of collective strength. By connecting with others, whether through local groups, online forums, or mutual aid networks, preppers can share skills, validate plans, and maintain balance, ensuring their preparations are proactive rather than reactive. This communal approach transforms prepping into a cooperative, empowering endeavor, counteracting the anxiety and impulsivity that fear-driven mindsets breed. Supportive community provides access to a wealth of knowledge, allowing preppers to learn practical skills and strategies that enhance self-reliance without fueling fear. Group members bring diverse expertise. Some might know gardening, others first aid or ham radio operation, creating a collective skill set that reduces dependence on any single individual's resources. For example, a prepper in a rural community might join a preparedness group where one member teaches canning, another shares solar panel tips, and a third offers map reading lessons. This exchange builds confidence, as preppers see tangible progress in their abilities. Unlike fear-driven preppers who might buy expensive gear without understanding it, community members can test and refine their plans, like practicing an evacuation drill together. This collaborative learning counters the panic buying seen in fear-driven cases, such as during the 2020 toilet paper shortages, by focusing on versatile, shared solutions. Communities act as a reality check, helping preppers stay grounded in realistic risks rather than spiraling into paranoia. Fear-driven individuals often isolate themselves, consuming sensationalized content that amplifies unlikely threats like global conspiracies. In contrast, a community provides diverse viewpoints that challenge exaggerated fears. For instance, a prepper worried about an EMP attack might share their concerns in a local group, only to learn from others that power outages from storms are a more pressing concern. This feedback helps them redirect efforts to practical steps, like buying a generator. Online platforms like X can also serve this role, with seasoned preppers debunking myths in real time. This was evident post-Hurricane Sandy, where community groups shared accurate recovery strategies, countering fear-driven hoarding by emphasizing mutual aid. Supportive community fosters emotional stability, reducing the anxiety that drives fear-based prepping. Prepping alone can amplify worry, as individuals ruminate on worst-case scenarios without perspective. In a community, shared experiences and encouragement create a sense of belonging, reminding preppers they're not facing challenges alone. For example, a neighborhood preparedness group might hold potlucks where members discuss plans, share stories, and laugh off exaggerated fears, normalizing prepping as a practical lifestyle. This camaraderie contrasts with the isolation of fear-driven preppers, who might hide in bunkers, distrusting others. During the 2011 Joplin tornado, communities that had built trust beforehand recovered faster, as neighbors shared food and tools, reinforcing the emotional benefits of collective preparedness. Communities enable resource pooling, making prepping more efficient and less overwhelming. Instead of each prepper stockpiling everything individually, a fear-driven tendency that leads to waste, group members can share tools, supplies, or responsibilities. For instance, a community might designate one member to maintain a group generator, another to store medical supplies, and another to coordinate communication during a crisis. This was seen in wildfire-prone areas where neighbors created fire-wise communities, sharing defensible space plans and water reserves. Such collaboration reduces the financial and emotional burden of prepping, countering the fear-driven urge to overstock, as seen in Y2K when individuals amassed supplies that went unused. Collective strength ensures preppers feel supported, not overwhelmed. Urban prepper joins a neighborhood preparedness group, attending meetings where they learn to store water safely and share a community tool shed. The group's discussions keep their focus on likely risks, like blackouts, and their shared plans, like a block-wide evacuation strategy, build confidence. They feel empowered, not anxious. Meanwhile, a lone, fear-driven prepper in the same city, influenced by apocalyptic forums, stockpiles weapons and MREs, isolating themselves and growing paranoid. When a blackout hits, the community prepper benefits from shared resources and support, while the lone prepper struggles alone with impractical supplies. The community reinforces a rational, resilient mindset, proving its value. UP out.
Community is a big deal. In a real long-term disaster, trying to be lone wolf, I mean, good luck. And it's hard. A lot of people don't know, don't care. Rome.
Question number 5. What are some real-world examples of scenarios where a rational prepping mind leads to better outcomes compared to fear-based reactions during emergencies?
I think every what you'd call major disaster, but Katrina and any of the big hurricanes, like the really big hurricanes. Oh, when we okay, so in Texas, when we had that major power issue during that winter, 2020 or 2021, we got really close to the power going off and not coming back on for quite a while. I learned later on, it was apparently one guy at, I don't know, it was like 2 a.m. who, it was like he came in clutch and he saved it. It was, if it had been like any much longer, like an hour longer where he didn't do this one thing, it would have been just out for quite a while. Then it would have been a world of hurt. But as it was not quite a week where a lot of areas were no power. And it it depended on your area too. But that was a real big one. The plague, all of our suddenly supply chain issues. So 2020, 2021, 2019. Yeah, all that nonsense. Anytime there's disruptions, I think the California wildfires were a pretty good example too. And what was it? The Fukushima nuclear power plant incident. That, I mean, I would imagine that impacted a lot of people in Japan. And that's just, I mean, most of those are just power and some logistics. From Jixer Therapy, when distilleries and small hometown brewers began making hand sanitizer during COVID, yes, that was a community coming together to meet a need. But at the same time, it was also like, hey, we can make money doing. You remember how much hand sanitizer cost? Even the cheap, horrible smelling. It was just alcohol. Like there was no aloe vera in it. Get out of here. It was just liquid. It was just rubbing alcohol essentially. But I mean, yeah. From Jixer Therapy, Cali wildfires are from piss poor resource management. Yes, they don't clear their underbrush, and it's a giant fire hazard. Then they wonder, oh, why do these fires just keep happening? It's global warming, I tell you. Or you could, clear out your brush. That's a fire hazard. But oh no, the spotted ring-tailed tree lemur. It's going to interrupt the natural habitat. Well, that natural habitat's going to get a lot more interrupted if it burns down. From K2 Keep on Trucking, isn't it that one dude survived and slowly started dying from within? All his skin fell off. What? From Jixer Therapy, you mean all these dry grasses and dead trees increase the risk of wildfires by 100%? I mean, I don't know about 100%. It might be more.
Real-world examples vividly illustrate how a rational prepping mindset, rooted in logic and preparedness, leads to better outcomes than fear-based reactions, which often result in inefficiency, wasted resources, or emotional distress. A rational approach prioritizes realistic risks, practical solutions, and adaptability, enabling preppers to navigate emergencies with confidence and effectiveness. Fear-driven reactions, however, are characterized by panic, overpreparation for unlikely scenarios, or paralysis, often leading to poor decisions that exacerbate challenges. By examining specific emergencies, natural disasters, economic disruptions, and pandemics, we can see how these mindsets play out, highlighting the tangible benefits of rational preparedness. During Hurricane Katrina, rational preppers in New Orleans who had prepared for flooding based on historical data fared better than those driven by fear. A family with a rational mindset, aware of the city's vulnerability to hurricanes, had a go bag with essentials, a waterproof map, and a plan to evacuate to a pre-arranged shelter. They'd practiced their route and joined a neighborhood group that shared resources like boats and radios. When the storm hit, they evacuated efficiently, used their supplies to support others, and later rebuilt with community help. Their preparations, based on FEMA guidelines and local flood risks, ensured safety and resilience. In contrast, a fear-driven neighbor, influenced by vague apocalyptic fears, had hoarded excessive food and weapons but lacked an evacuation plan. Levees broke, they were stranded, unable to use their stockpile, and their fear of looters kept them isolated, delaying rescue. The rational preppers' focus on practical steps and community ties led to a safer, more effective response. The early months of the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the stark contrast between rational and fear-driven responses. A rational prepper, anticipating supply chain disruptions based on news of global lockdowns, had built a 2-month stockpile of food, medicine, and hygiene products over time, following CDC recommendations. They learned basic sewing to make masks and coordinated with neighbors to share essentials, maintaining calm and flexibility. When shortages hit, they were unaffected, using their supplies wisely and helping others. Versely, a fear-driven individual, spurred by viral videos of empty shelves, panic-bought toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and perishable goods in massive quantities, spending beyond their means and clogging their home. Many of these items spoiled or went unused, and their anxiety persisted as they chased new, must-have items. The rational prepper's measured approach ensured stability, while fear-driven panic led to waste and stress. In the 2011 Joplin, Missouri, tornado, rational preppers who focused on skills and planning outperformed those driven by fear. A family with a rational mindset had studied tornado risks, built a storm shelter based on local building codes, and learned first aid through a community workshop. They also had a battery-powered radio and a week's worth of supplies, prepared for typical post-tornado outages. When the EF5 tornado struck, they safely sheltered, used their skills to help injured neighbors, and communicated with rescue teams, aiding recovery. Preparations were targeted and effective. Contrast, a fear-driven prepper, obsessed with vague doomsday scenarios, had spent heavily on a bunker stocked with years' worth of food but neglected tornado-specific plans. Trapped in their home without a shelter, they suffered injuries and couldn't access their supplies, which were irrelevant to the immediate crisis. The rational prepper's focus on relevant risks and skills made the difference. During the 2008 financial crisis, rational preppers who prepared for economic instability navigated the downturn better than those driven by fear. A rational prepper, aware of rising unemployment risks from economic reports, had built an emergency fund, reduced debt, and learned to grow food to cut costs. They also networked with local barter groups, trading skills like car repair for goods. When they lost their job, their savings and self-sufficiency cushioned the blow, allowing them to adapt. Contrast, a fear-driven prepper, convinced by conspiracy theories of total economic collapse, liquidated assets to buy gold and survival gear, expecting societal breakdown. When the crisis stabilized, they faced financial ruin from their impulsive decisions, with gold proving less useful than liquid savings. The rational prepper's data-driven approach ensured flexibility and recovery, while fear led to regret. These examples demonstrate that a rational prepping mindset, anchored in data, skills, and community, consistently yields better outcomes than fear-driven reactions. Rational preppers assess risks accurately, prepare proportionally, and adapt to the crisis at hand, whether it's a hurricane, pandemic, tornado, or economic downturn. Fear-driven preppers, swayed by exaggerated threats, waste resources, isolate themselves, or fail to address immediate needs, leading to inefficiency or harm. Focusing on realistic scenarios and practical solutions, rational preppers not only survive but thrive, turning preparation into empowerment. UP out.
An analogy, it's not quite exactly, but an analogy you might use for the dichotomy between the two is like a casino. You can be the gambler, you know, maybe you'll strike it big, maybe you'll be good in this, some catastrophic scenario, but you more want to be the house and have all the games based on metrics and numbers. That way, the house always wins. Over time, the house always wins. So you want to be more like the house rather than the gambler, because you're doing your planning, you're making decisions based on math, essentially. Just what's the most likely chances, probability, and then how big is the impact. It's not a great analogy, but I'm a simple monkey.
Any final thoughts on tonight's discussion?
This has been a great time. Thanks for having me on your platform, Zach. This is a great conversation. There's maybe a little bit of, it was all on the one topic, so of course there was going to be overlap. But talking about the mentality about how you get to your planning and then having a plan versus the knee-jerk reaction prepper generally wasting money and then having to deal with those decisions. This is a great topic. Which that also, after the knee-jerk reaction prepper goes out and buys whatever the year worth of food, now you got to deal with it. Where are we putting it? Because you don't want to keep that in your garage, your unair conditioned garage. That's not a great idea. So now you've got a large quantity. Suddenly you have a large quantity of things that are going to eat up space. There's tricks you can do, like not like hiding at false walls, but like essentially stacking up in the back of a closet, in like do one in every closet in just negative spaces. Maybe you've got under the stairs, maybe you've got some space there, but now you're going to have to figure out what to do with it, and probably overextended on that food versus some other things you could have done, or just not spent all that crazy quantity of money. Do things slower and more methodically, then you don't have to worry about, hey, did I get a good price on it? Even buy the dips on stuff like that too. Buy the dips if you're buying stuff regularly, consumables, etc. If it's something that you are buying regularly of the brand or whatever that you buy, now hey, it's on sale. Well, that's the time to buy it on sale, not the thing where you've never tried it before, you've never used it, and you don't know, or you don't know how it works or whatever like that. That stuff that's on sale, maybe think about it a little bit. But if it's a regular use item or something that you already planning to buy and you're just waiting, it goes on sale, yeah, that's the time. From Jixer Therapy, toilet paper was so stupid for people to stockpile because, like I told my wife, before toilet paper, people used toilet towels and washed them and reused them. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. The thing about, well, medical supplies is a different thing, but sanitary or disposable things, especially in a disaster, paper plates, paper products, especially paper plates and paper towels, napkins, toilet paper. These are things that can help keep things clean because you're just throwing it away and you don't have to worry about washing it and maybe using more water than you were planning. It's it's a trade-off. So as we discussed today, maybe you diversify and do both. Maybe be ready with the ass cloth, pardon my French, but then you also have some toilet paper stocked up, so you're good to go. From Doomerang, living that 2-ply life. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Zach. This is a good time.
As we wrap up this incredible episode of the Unique Prepping Community, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Grump for joining me tonight and sharing such invaluable insights on the difference between a prepping mind and fear-driven reactions. Your wisdom and perspective have truly enriched our conversation, reminding us all how to approach preparedness with clarity, purpose, and a steady heart. We've delved deep into the psychology of prepping, exploring how a rational, self-reliant mindset empowers us to face uncertainties with confidence, while fear can lead us down a path of panic and inefficiency. Your real-world examples and practical advice have given us a roadmap to stay grounded, whether we're stocking a pantry or building community ties. It's been a powerful reminder that prepping is about taking control of what we can, not being controlled by what we can't predict. This discussion has been a call to action for all of us to reflect on our own prepping habits. Are we building skills and resources that make us resilient, or are we reacting to headlines and hypotheticals that keep us up at night? The stories we've shared, like the rational prepper thriving post-hurricane or the community pulling together during a crisis, show us the strength that comes from preparation rooted in logic and connection. It's not just about having supplies, it's about cultivating a mindset that sees challenges as opportunities to grow, adapt, and support one another. Grump, your thoughts on balancing data-driven planning with emotional stability have given us tools to keep fear at bay and focus on what truly matters. Hope everyone listening feels inspired to take a step back and evaluate their own approach to preparedness. Maybe it's time to check your go bag, learn a new skill like water purification, or reach out to a neighbor to start a mutual aid plan. These small, intentional actions build a foundation that not only prepares us for emergencies but also enriches our lives every day. The beauty of a prepping mind is that it's proactive, not reactive. It's about living with purpose, not hiding from possibilities. Grump's insights tonight have shown us how to keep our eyes on the practical while letting go of the paranoia that can creep in when we let fear take the wheel. Let's keep this conversation going beyond the podcast. Communities like ours thrive because of the stories, questions, and ideas you all bring to the table. Whether you're a seasoned prepper or just starting out, your voice matters. Share your thoughts in the comments, tell us how you maintain balance in your prepping, what skills you're learning, or how your community supports you. Your experiences could be the spark that helps someone else refine their approach. And don't forget to connect with others in the unique prepping community. There's strength in numbers, and together, we can face any challenge with confidence. You're looking for more resources, inspiration, or ways to dive deeper into the world of preparedness. Make sure to check out everything Unique Prepping has to offer. From practical guides to community events, you can find it all by visiting the Linktree link in the description. It's your one-stop hub for connecting with us, accessing exclusive content, and staying in the loop with the latest prepping tips. Grump, thank you again for bringing such depth to this episode. Your passion for rational preparedness is contagious, and it's clear why our listeners love hearing from you. This episode has reminded us that prepping isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. It's about building a life where we're ready for the unexpected without letting fear dictate our choices. The difference between a prepping mind and a fear-driven approach comes down to intention. One empowers us to live fully, while the other traps us in worry. Let's choose empowerment every time, leaning on knowledge, skills, and community to face whatever comes our way. Your commitment to this journey, whether you're listening from a bustling city or a quiet homestead, is what makes this community so special. I want to encourage everyone to keep learning, keep connecting, and keep refining your prepping mindset. The world can be unpredictable, but with a clear head and a strong network, we're unstoppable. Take a moment to think about one action you can take this week. Maybe it's rotating your food stock, joining a local prepper group, or simply talking to a friend about preparedness. Every step forward strengthens not just you, but the entire community. Grump's wisdom tonight has given us a blueprint for staying rational and resilient, and I know we're all walking away with something to ponder. Let's also remember the power of sharing this message. If this episode resonated with you, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It's how we grow this community and reach more people who want to prepare with purpose. Your support helps us keep these conversations alive, bringing more voices like Grump's to the forefront. Whether you're sharing on X, with a neighbor, or in a group chat, every share spreads the message of rational, empowered preparedness. Let's keep building a community that's ready for anything, together. We close. I want to thank each and every one of you for being part of this journey. Your dedication to preparedness, your curiosity, and your willingness to learn make this community truly unique. Grump, once again, thank you for your incredible insights and for reminding us to prep with our heads up and our hearts strong. To find anything unique prepping, visit the Linktree link in the description. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Let's keep the momentum going, keep supporting each other, and keep building a future where we're prepared, not scared. Love you all, and as we go forward, let's hold fast to the words of Psalm 23 verse 4 from the King James Version. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff they comfort me. Stay prepared, stay unique, and God bless.
Thank you all. Thank you, Zach.
In a world full of noise where the fear runs deep, you've been fighting alone, losing sleep. But here we stand with a light, with a plan. Together we rise, yeah, we take a stand. Storms may come and times get rough, but you're stronger than the world thinks tough enough. We've got your back no matter how far. You're a fighter, a thinker, a prepping star. You're not alone, we're all in this ride. Unique Prep is here standing right by your side. So hit that like, let your voice be heard. Subscribe, comment, share the word. Check the gear, check your soul. Our sponsors help you stay in control. Prepared, aware, never outdone. We fight together till the battle's won. You're not